Okay, everybody that can join us, that's great. This is going to be our first virtual Chalk Talks for the month of January in 2022. Our first guest is Grace Lehto, former HangTuf player, Eaton Rapids high school player, as well as now she's at CMU playing ball. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Grace. Again, this is a great opportunity for everybody in our program to participate and engage the speaker, ask questions, and we'll leave 15 minutes towards the end to do that. And then anyone that was not able to make this activity, we will go ahead and post it on our YouTube channel at HangTuf Softball. All right, Grace. So I'll kind of interact with you and I'll ask you a few questions as we're going along, but you want to just provide an introduction for yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Like you said, my name's Grace. I play, oh, sorry.
Do you have your video up by chance?
It's on. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Let's see if we can change it. And I'm going to use speaker. So if you start talking, it should.
Okay. Is that working?
Give me just 1 second. Sorry about the technical difficulty.
No worries.
Okay. How about we'll just do it this way right now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I played at Eaton Rapids. I play at Central now. I'm a biochemistry major and I'm in my sophomore year now at Central. And I started playing softball when I can't even remember because it was just always there. Softball was always something I did. My sisters played, my mom coached, so did my dad. So as long as I can remember, I played softball and there was nothing else but softball. So I mean, my parents got me into it, and from the start, I loved it. It was definitely like my passion from the start, and I wouldn't rather do anything else. I would say like my mom definitely got me into it more than anybody else because she played and I saw how much she loved the sport. And I mean, who doesn't want to be like their mom when they're young? So I think she was my biggest inspiration in the sport and she coached me and it was always fun, daughter, mother bonding. So I played T-ball, then coach pitch, you know how everybody does. And then I started travel ball. So I started with Eaton Rapids, just a little local team. And then when I was in 7th grade, I think I started playing HangTuf. And that was a great experience. I started, I played for Coach Hilly at first. I'm not sure if anybody knows them, and then I played for Coach Knopf and then Coach Bird. And I played there for I always forget whether it was 5 or 6 years. And that was definitely a big like developmental part of my softball career, and met a lot of great people, met a lot of great teammates that I still talk to, which is pretty cool. And I then went to Turn Into for 2 years, and now I am here at Central. But travel ball was definitely I miss more travel ball. Right now it's all like school ball, and school ball is fun. It's definitely a lot of fun, but I miss that travel ball when I was younger and the summers. I mean, it's probably my favorite part of the year just because you get to see your teammates and it's all your best friends really. And I think that was like the biggest thing from travel ball was you build your best friends. And I talked to most of everybody I played with when I was 14, and I check in with them sometimes to see how they're doing. So that's pretty cool. You make lifelong friends and you are playing the sport you love. So I played in high school. I started on varsity as a freshman. Freshman year, I got all conference, I believe, or honorable mention all conference. And then sophomore year, I started more. I played for Coach Warner at Eaton Rapids, and I started more sophomore year. And that is the year we went to the Final Four for the state, and I got all state and all region, which was really cool. That was definitely a highlight. And then junior year, we also made it to the Final Four, and I again got all state, all region. And then that year I also won the Lansing State Journal softball player of the year, which was another highlight. But senior year, obviously we didn't have a season because that's when COVID hit. So that was definitely a bummer, but a lot of things to be learned from that.
What kind of locations did you play at when you were playing for regionals and state?
We played sophomore year, we played regionals, played districts at Chelsea, regionals, Fowlerville, I think. And then we played quarterfinals in Saline, and then the semifinal and final are at MSU's stadium. And then junior year, let's see, it's a while ago. I think we played districts and regionals. No, we played districts at home, so in Eaton Rapids, regionals at Chelsea, quarterfinals at Chelsea again, and then semifinal was at MSU again. So that was cool. A lot of different places, a lot of good competition.
Yeah, definitely.
I did a lot of. Oh,
what was
sorry.
your favorite? Sorry. What was your favorite part of playing in high school?
I met my best friends in high school. Like, I've known them my whole life, but we really got close with high school softball. I feel like that's a highlight. Like with any team I played on, you just met great people. I mean, I played basketball and volleyball in high school, and most of my like middle school too. And softball people are still my favorite people. But I think like if I could pick a moment that was my favorite, it would be winning quarterfinals at Chelsea my junior year, because we did a little dog pile and it was just really fun. And it was just one of those moments you want to take a mental picture. That was fun. But yeah, that was probably my favorite moments of high school ball. I miss Coach Warner's like pep talks. He would always just go in there and he'd be really short. He's like, "Come on, we got this." So could always use one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about travel? What was your the favorite aspects of playing travel ball?
With travel ball, I liked just how in summer it was softball, softball, softball. There was no other choice but softball for me, and that wasn't anything I was forced to do. It was just that's all I wanted to do. So I liked how it was go, go, go. And I mean, I like traveling places to play and getting good competition. That was always fun. Those good games. Sometimes it's harder to get that like locally, so it's fun. I think my favorite tournaments were the Petoskey ones that I went to with HangTuf, and we won that my sophomore year, and that was so much fun. We got good competition there, and it was just a beautiful setting too.
Yeah, right on the
Awesome.
waterfront.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
really cool.
Yeah. My family, we had an opportunity to watch you play in that championship game.
Oh, yeah.
So our team was up there as well, like 14U. But yeah, it's a great experience, and I really like just from getting to know you a little bit last year for the first time, how close you are with all your teammates that you used to play with. So it's really cool how all of your girls still have that relationship and want to play together, even now when you've moved on to college. So
yeah, I think that year we won Petoskey, that team had been the heart of the team had been together for at least 4 years. A couple of us had been together for 5 years. So, I mean, we were really close, and that makes a great team too, is team chemistry and just getting along with everyone. And it wasn't hard. It was a great environment, and there was never any issue with it. So that was awesome.
yeah. Yeah, and then I wanted to, just how did HangTuf help just speaking, selfishly about HangTuf, how did it positively affect you, as a player and as a person?
I mean, it affected me a lot. Being my first travel team, it kind of set the tone for travel ball. And it was really great, honestly. I wouldn't have, if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything. It was, I mean, the environment was great, the coaching was great. We had fun tournaments, and I feel like I learned a lot about the sport and more about how like the sport can create your like I don't mean to keep saying my best friends, but like I really talk to those girls now, and just like those moments and those memories that you make then, they'll stick with you forever. And that was something like Hang Tough instilled because it was such a family environment, which I really appreciated. I hadn't seen softball like that before. You kind of always think like, I want to get better. I want to do this. I want to be a faster pitcher. I want to be a harder hitter. But I mean, Hang Tough really helped me see like, I just want my team to win. I just want to win for the person to the left of me and to the right of me. I want everybody to succeed. So I think like that's probably the most important thing I learned. But there was a lot of like instructional things I learned, but that's not the parts that I remember either. I just remember like more the lessons I learned. And um I think it helped me a lot to where I'm at now, because I know there's a lot of selfish players out there, and I'm not saying I'm not ever selfish, but I know there's a lot of selfish players out there, and I think that was one thing Hang Tough really helped me with, is like you can never be selfish on the field. It takes 9 to win a game, and it takes 9 to win, and it has to be everybody's good enough. You're only as strong as your weakest link, so everybody has to be good. You want to push everyone around you and like make sure you connect with everyone around you. So that was probably the most important parts of Hang Tough, that like that's what helped me a lot and shaped me to where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's great. How about moving on? While you were playing travel ball, a lot of players go to camps and clinics. Get that experience to meet college coaches, start communications with colleges. Um, any favorite camps or clinics that you attended?
Um, I think the Michigan one is one that sticks with me just because it was fun. And I mean, not everybody there is getting recruited by Michigan. It's just you learn a lot. And it's just fun to see those coaches because they're so legendary. I mean, we played Michigan this fall, and even then, Coach Hutch was on third baseline, and that's where the dugout was. And I was a couple feet from her, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a legend right there." Um, and I really liked the blue chip camps; those were really helpful. That was more. I thought that was more helpful, like with recruiting. You see so many coaches there; you don't have to go to all these different places. You can be in one spot, and there's 13 to 20 coaches there, which was really great. Those are probably my top 2 favorites, but I really liked going to camps because they were always instructional, and I thought I was always being seen by the coaches. There wasn't a bad camp that I went to that I didn't feel like I was being watched. So that was great. But I definitely thought camps were super beneficial for me.
What would you say is the most important thing when you're attending a camp? You think positivity, your body language, hustle, effort, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, all of those, definitely attitude. Coaches will pick up on that right away. If they like your attitude or don't like your attitude, because if they don't, I mean, they're gonna pick a good teammate before they pick great talent. And if you are the fastest pitcher ever and you have a horrible attitude, they won't want to deal with you on their team because they don't think you're going to be helpful in their program. So definitely attitude is a big thing. Hustle and effort, just really showing that you're gritty and you'll work hard for them. I mean, you're showing them what kind of teammate and what kind of student you'll be. So that's really important. Um, and even how you interact with your parents, whether you're grateful that they took you or you're more like, why do I have to be here? And just the way you talk to them, because that's a role, like more a person. I guess it's just like a respect thing. And if you can't respect your parents and be grateful that they took you or that they're doing everything for you. They're not going to want you just because they don't think you'll give them that same respect. And they definitely pick the person first. So just being conscious of your attitude, your body language, your hustle, your everything. And that seems like a lot, but it's not hard to do when you're just working hard and being grateful.
Oh, that's a good answer. I know a lot of the girls that are 14U, especially our 16s on up, we're continuing to talk about it's really important how you present yourself. Coaches are going to pick up on that, even if they're just watching a game, passing by. They see negative attitude, they see somebody give up on a play, you can get scratched off the list and they'll move on to the next person. It's not always fair, but you have to be aware that people are watching you at all times, even the way you interact with your parents, carrying your gear, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think I saw this stat that was like only 1% of athletes get a scholarship to D1 school. So like if you think like if someone thinks they're not replaceable, they are. So just making sure you are always like even now we have to think like we're replaceable. Coaches are recruiting our replacement every day. So just being grateful for what we have and hustling and really putting in the work ethic. So yeah, it's definitely important.
And then also on that note, when did you start communicating with coaches about what colleges you wanted to attend and so on?
I started communicating with coaches probably my freshman year. I had a pitching coach that was he coached for Davenport. So I started talking to Davenport early, and then it was Rob Dunham, if you guys have heard of him. But he was with Davenport, so I went to a lot of Davenport camps, and so that was kind of my first communication. And then I talked to Aquinas a little bit, but I was sending out emails.
Hold on one second, Grace. You got muted. There you go. Okay,
so I started talking to coaches around my freshman year. Just a couple emails here and there. I wasn't super into it wasn't a priority at that point. It became more a priority the summer before my junior year, because then I'm like, everybody around me is committing. I gotta really get like talking to coaches. I was going to camp since I was like in 6th grade, but never really focusing on like, this is where I want to go to college or like that part. Pretty normal. But yeah, probably around junior year, I got really into it and emailed 12, 13 coaches whenever I had a tournament. And that's when it really got in full swing. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that's like important though too is like I know a lot of people were committing super early, and it was really important that like I found the right school, and that was taking a long time for me. And that was so I committed senior year in the fall, and that's really late. It was really late. Now it's more normal with the new rules and stuff, but just finding your pick and making sure it's right, because I mean, I wouldn't know where I wanted to go to college my freshman year or sophomore year, really. I had no idea. So just not feeling rushed and taking your time, making the right decision. Because if it'll all work out, what happens, it'll always work out. That's what I always think about is like, if it wasn't right, like they'll wait for me if it's right. If they won't, then it's not right for me.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I know a lot of people get all tied up and concerned about, getting committed and doing it right away, getting stressed out about it. And like you're saying, if it's meant to be, you'll find that right fit. Just keep contacting people and be persistent. I know that's what, Jamie Lobdell at Saginaw Valley would always say, just stay persistent, keep calling me, keep texting me, keep emailing me. I'll show up to the game. So even if I don't respond right away, but so with you, I know that your experience is a little different than some of the other girls that we've had on the Chalk Talks. We've had some girls from NAIA. We've had some girls going to community colleges, as well as going to like a D2 or a D3. But with your experience as a D1, how did you narrow down what school you wanted to go to? What two schools did it come down to at the end?
I had kind of a funny recruiting experience. So I was looking at a lot of different schools, and kind of any coach who talked to me, I looked into it. I never ruled anything out until it was a for sure no. I would check it out, and if I didn't like it, then I'd call the coach and tell him not for me. So I had I went through a lot of D2s like GLIAC. I did visits at Grand Valley, Davenport, Wayne State. I looked at Saginaw Valley a little bit too. And then Toledo got a hold of me, and I started talking with Toledo. And so once you start talking to more schools, I mean, coaches talk, and that kind of seems weird because why would they talk to somebody when they want this person and they don't want them to get poached? But coaches do talk. So kind of started to spiral a little bit, got more and more people interested. And then, but my freshman year, I really liked Davenport because Coach Rob was a coach there. And then I really loved Coach Solomon and Coach Merchant, who were there. And I just really fell in love with that team, but I had to say no because it wasn't the right schooling for me. And that was really hard, but I wanted to be a doctor, and they didn't really have a stable medical program at that point. It was really new. So I had to say no with that. And then I think it was the summer of my senior year, my decision was between Toledo and Penn State. I was really trying to make my decision between those two because it was really difficult for me. I'm kind of a homebody and didn't know if I wanted to go 7 hours away. So I had my pros and cons list. I was trying to figure it out. And then I think I saw it on Twitter that Coach Solomon and Coach Merchant got the job here at Central. So I was kind of optimistic about that one. So I texted Coach Solomon, and I told her congratulations on the job opportunity. That's awesome, and I'm happy for her. And then she asked me to go on a visit. So I fell in love with the coaches my freshman year, and it just turned out that they went to a high level school at the perfect timing for me. And then it was an easy decision from there. I fell in love with the school, beautiful campus, and it just felt like home almost immediately. So that was awesome. But yeah, it was kind of a long road. I think I ended up visiting 17 different schools, which is crazy. A lot of NAIA. Then I don't know. I don't think I went to any D3s. I did a lot of D2s, and then just a couple D1s. But once I found Central, that was it for me. I think I made my decision in English class one morning. I just thought, I want to be a Chippewa. So that was fun.
Yeah. So I had read that it came down between Penn State and CMU.
Yeah, it was it's hard to say no to Big Ten. And it was kind of another everything happens at the right time moment, because they had a pitcher who decided softball didn't make her happy anymore, and Penn State did. And I was still looking at schools. I was going to my senior year, getting a little nervous. And I had a coach text me and was like, Penn State is looking for a pitcher right now. We need to get you in front of them. And so I went to a camp, and from there, they made me an offer. And then that was at the same time that Central had made me an offer. So that was like hard, because I mean, it's really hard to say no to Big Ten, but I was so in love with Central, this MAC school. So I just had to pick where my heart was. And I really love the coaches. And I mean, you're not supposed to pick a college for the coaches because coaches can change. But these coaches, I knew they would be my moms away from home. And I'm a homebody, and that's what I really needed. And I knew they'd always take care of me, and just good people. And I liked that. Even when I went on my visit here, the teammates were just awesome. They're very accommodating with whatever I needed and just made me feel comfortable immediately. So yeah.
That's really good. Really cool. And I hear the same thing, very similar things from other girls that have gone through the recruiting process that I've had, that they went to a campus and all of a sudden it felt like home. You know, they knew that that's the place that they wanted to be and just the right fit. So I'm glad you found that.
Yeah, people always would explain that to me and say it'll just feel like home. And I went to all these schools and I was like, it's not feeling like home yet. So I'm glad I waited for Central.
So how would you explain, you know, the transition from high school to college? Was it a difficult transition for you? What were any surprises, things that, you know, were a little more challenging than you thought it would be?
Um, a big change was the weightlifting. So I didn't do a lot of weightlifting in high school. I just played volleyball, basketball, and softball. So I just stayed active, but I didn't do a lot of weightlifting. Once I got to school, we're weightlifting 3 days a week, and like I was just exhausted. And I built muscle really fast, but that was a big change in my schedule, just having weightlifting that much and something to adapt to. Um, Competition wise, it's definitely, I mean, from high school, like softball in high school to college softball, huge difference. Like I didn't face batters in high school that were like batters here, but I was playing good travel ball teams too in the summer, so that made it easier. We went to some pretty big tournaments and I had some good competition. I was playing against some Michigan recruits and James Madison recruits. So that helped a lot too. But I mean, nobody prepares you for the nerves of your first college game or playing Tennessee. I mean, I was never prepared for that. So um, it was just, I mean, you just don't know what to expect. So, and I don't think anybody could have explained to me what to expect. Um, the amount of time you put into softball in school, but it's still fun. It sounds miserable sometimes, but it's still time of my life. So I
How,
guess
how much time would you say that you put in a week at school?
so we do 20 hours of softball. So that's how much we can do. And our coaches like to get almost the full. Sometimes we don't always get 20 hours, but a lot of times we get pretty close. So 20 hours of softball a week. And then I have 12 credits right now. So about 10, 15 hours of classes. And then outside of that, I'm a biochem major, pre-med. I have a lot of homework and a lot of studying. So it's easier to say how much free time I have. And I have maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of free time a day, which is nice. And it changes from day to day. It could have a lighter day or a heavier day, but I keep pretty busy. I've always liked to keep busy because otherwise I just get bored. So it's once you get into a routine and get the time management thing down, you're good to go.
And did that come easier than you thought? Were you pretty good at time management before?
Not in high school. I was horrible at time management in high school because I was a little bit of a night owl and would stay up to like 3 a.m. doing homework and started at 10 p.m. instead of starting at like 6 p.m. So I could not do that in college because you need sleep. You wake up at 6 a.m. for weights and you just have a long day and you get exhausted. You have to get your at least 6 hours, if not 8 or 9. That's optimal. But I think I picked it up within the first 2 weeks just because you physically cannot be bad at time management as a D1 college athlete or any college athlete, really. You just cannot be bad at time management or else you'll fail almost immediately. And I think everyone on my team, all different types of personalities and like abilities in the classroom and with softball, they all picked up. It was the same thing. You just can't be bad at it. And coaches help you with that. I mean, we have so many people to help us with our classes and our time management. We have a academic coordinator, a academic advisor, we have 3 coaches, we have a team counselor, we have nutritionists. Like any questions you have, they will be answered by one of your coaches. So
Awesome. how did CMU help you, from this aspect that you're traveling all the time for softball? With your major, I would think that that would be pretty difficult, in order to get your classes, or do you have tutors that are on the road with you guys? And how do you handle all that with your school load?
So with COVID, everything's online with the academic stuff. So like tutors, we do Zoom calls. With my schedule, I mean, last year I had a lot more like general classes, so it wasn't as busy as this year. Definitely busier this year, a little bit harder, but with classes being easily transferred to online, it's easy when we travel because we'll have several midweek games this year and I'll be missing class, but I can just jump on a Zoom, watch it on the bus, watch it in the hotel, or probably not in the dugout. Coach would not allow that ever, but like you can get a lot of resources online, and the professors are very accommodating to all the athletes. You just email them before the course starts and you just say like, hey, I'm an athlete here. I have these dates I'll miss, and I was just wondering if I could figure out a way to make up that time or get the lecture notes. And if they're not accommodating, our academic coordinator will email them and yell at them. So it's not hard. It's easy to fall behind when you're traveling so much, but if you study on the bus and do your homework and get on top of it before you travel, that helps a lot.
Yeah, I was curious, especially with your major. I mean, I would think that'd be really challenging.
Yeah.
So how about injuries? Have you had to deal with anything like that, through your softball career or last year, doing so much more softball and all the weightlifting?
Yeah, so I didn't not through anything with softball. So it's an unfortunate story, but I didn't have many injuries ever throughout like high school and younger. I here and there had a shoulder issue just because I threw so much. I just get a little more sore here than usual and have to take a little time off. Going into my freshman year of college, in June, I was having some shoulder issues. I fractured my collarbone from overuse. So that was hard that I had to take time off and I had to do some physical therapy. And that was not a time I wanted to be taking off right as I'm going into college. Like I want to be top of my game. So mid-July, I was feeling better with that, started pitching a lot more again. And then I was doing a little trip with my friends, like a going away for college, like one last thing to do before we leave. We went to the beach and played spike ball, and I fell back and tore my meniscus. So the week before I go to college, I tore my meniscus, freaking out. I get there and I don't figure out for 3 more weeks that I had torn my meniscus. I just had a hurt knee. So then I had surgery. So that was really difficult. I mean, my freshman year, I start off with an injury. I start off with 6 weeks of no softball. And then, so that ended up being the whole fall. So I didn't have a fall season last year at all. Then it was winter break is when I got cleared to pitch and play again. And then we get back from winter break and my roommates got COVID. So I was quarantined for 2 weeks on a contact list. So then I get back and I haven't had an actual 100% team practice because even when I was practicing with the team, I wasn't at 100% because of my knee. So we get back, we have 3 weeks until our first game. And I hadn't had a full team practice before, like with that team before. I didn't even know like our like our bunt plays or like first and third plays. I didn't know any of that. So I was freaking out, but my coaches helped me feel more comfortable with it. And they said like, hey, you're still in a good position. You did a lot of work over winter break. Cause I was ready to be back. I had been sitting for 6 weeks at that point. So they're just kind of helped ease my mind with that. And then we went into season and my knee was 100%. So that was good. But do feel a little robbed of my fall season, so that was hard. But I mean, a lot of athletes go through injuries and it's just about bouncing back. So, and I feel like I bounced back pretty well. I think there was definitely things that changed from my injury, like things I like babied my knee a little bit more, like maybe played a little bit more hesitantly at first, but everything got back to mostly normal.
Because you actually pitched quite a bit last year, right?
Yeah, I think I played 21 games. So out of I think we had 40 something. So yeah, I pitched quite a bit. We had 7 pitchers, so it was kind of difficult. And I was the freshman, so I was behind a lot of people, but I got a lot of pitch time.
Yeah, I saw that the profile for the CMU, for your player profile, it said that you were a workhorse last year. It just talked about all the games that you pitched in and your record. And so did you pitch, like, say, in comparison to the other pitchers, did you pitch the most of the other pitchers, or were you one of the top
Um,
2 or 3?
I was probably there was 2 of us that pitched mostly. So me and she was a junior, Caitlin Bean. She's now a senior, but we pitched a lot, and I would typically do like the Friday Sunday games. So we were playing 4-game series on the weekend. So we'd play a single game Friday, doubleheader Saturday, a single game Sunday. So I kind of had the Friday Sunday games, and I had a break in between. So out of the 4 weekend, I'd usually pitch 2, and that just all depended. Like you have bad days and sometimes you get pulled, but then the next day they're like, oh, you only pitched a couple innings that last game, you can like throw more on this day. So it kind of varied, but pretty consistently I'd throw Friday then Sunday. And then we'd have 2 pitchers on Saturday. One would throw first game and then one would throw the second game, or 2 would split the second game.
Yeah. So do they keep pitch counts quite often in college? Is that something that you see that they pay more attention to for your usage?
Um, yes and no. I mean, we're not very limited with our pitch count. We work a lot about stamina. So like we'll have bullpens that we throw 150 to 200 pitches. So we're ready for those hard games. More so they just kind of, I mean, we do keep pitch count, but my coaches just check into how we're feeling, because I could throw 60 pitches one day and my shoulder's tight and it just hurts. But the next day I could throw like 200 pitches and I'm feeling good for the next game. So it's more about communication with your coaches and how you're feeling, whether you're exhausted or not, and being honest about that too, because it's what's best for the team. Like I might want to pitch more, but is my like fatigue gonna bring the team down or hurt my success with the team?
So give us a snapshot. So college so far and your experience last year. What were some of the highlights and of the season for you?
I think it was just like getting through tough stuff, because I mean, being a pitcher in the Lansing area, there wasn't always great competition. Like in my class, there wasn't like Eaton Rapids definitely was a better team of the Lansing area. Like we had some good competition, but like it was hard. So I didn't like have to fail that much. Like I was pretty successful in high school and I didn't have to go through failure. But I mean, I went to college and we played Tennessee, and obviously we're not supposed to win that game. It would have been nice, but then we go to Florida and we start playing teams we're supposed to be winning against, and we're just not. And nobody can figure it out. Nobody can like understand what's going on. And I mean, tough thing about being a pitcher, a win's on you. It's awesome if you win and everybody's like, my pitcher threw great, but also the loss is on you. So just kind of going through that, it felt like I was failing over and over again and trying to like get through that. I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself with how I did get through it, because I did a lot better in the end part of the season than like that middle first part. Just having to figure that out, it was a big mental battle. And I mean, it doesn't sound like a highlight, sounds rough, but like I'm just proud of myself of like getting through that and figuring that out so I could turn around and have a better end of the season. And we had some fun games. Toledo, or not Toledo, Tennessee was a highlight for sure. We played them, and I was on this field that I had watched on TV over and over again. And I threw a pretty good game that game. We held Tennessee to 3, and then the coach came over. Like, this coach I've seen on TV and heard him talk, and like I've always idolized. I He came over and he said, "Who threw that game?" And I raised my hand. He's like, "You did a heck of a job." And like that gave me chills, and I just could not stop talking about that. I called my parents. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Mhm.
So
That's really
that was
cool.
really cool.
Yep, I think we had an opportunity to watch you play that game. It was on TV here locally. So for CMU.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing too, was it was on TV, and it was my first big college game. So, and it
Yep.
was televised, and it was on this huge stadium. So that was crazy.
And wasn't that pretty early in the season too? Or
Yeah, it was the second game I pitched. So it was like our first tournament, and we played Northern Kentucky. That was my first game. That was our first game as a team, and I threw that one. And then we played Tennessee twice. In the first game, my teammates pitched. And then the Sunday game, I didn't know what was going to happen because I played the team that was like not as hard as Tennessee. So I was like, okay, they don't think I'm ready for it yet. And then I get there on Sunday, and coach says, "Here's the ball, like you're throwing." And I was like, oh my gosh. So there was nerves there, but um nerves help sometimes too, getting that adrenaline going. You just feel on top of the world.
yeah. And then I wanted to talk to you too. And you're going to be you're a biochemistry major, so you want to be in the medical field. And so, what are your future plans like right now? I know it's hard to say. You're a sophomore in school, but what do you want to do after you graduate from CMU, like professionally? And do you want to pursue softball beyond CMU?
See, I would really like to pursue softball beyond, whether that's just like a little travel team that I play for, or I mean, I really enjoy coaching too. So whether that's an opportunity, I just can't imagine a life without softball. I've been doing it as long as I can remember, and I'm not ready to give it up. I know I have 2 more years playing here, but I'm not ready to give it up in any way. Just the environment of a softball team, like the parents, the girls, it's just a great environment. So I guess I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. I'm gonna try to find a way to keep that in my life. But professionally, I am studying for the MCAT right now. So I have to take that to get into medical school. So my plan is to go to medical school. Not sure where. I'm just gonna apply to a bunch of places and see where I get in and check those places out. And I would like to go into orthopedics, so like bones, muscles, and whether I be an orthopedic physician or surgeon, I'm not sure yet, but lots of time to figure that out. So yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, well, I know that we really appreciate your help at the clinics and your involvement. And then I know you're going to be helping out with our 16U team this summer coaching. So that's going to be really cool. And I'm sure you'll be around some of the other teams while we're doing some of those practices and so on. Um, that's everything that I had. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about in general, or we can just open it up for questions?
um I mean, I guess just talking about like making sure every player is like, you don't want to be a selfish player, but you also want to make sure you are in the right place, and like figuring out what's right for you is a big thing. Because I always knew I wanted good competition. And some girls just like want more playtime. So it's just kind of figuring out like what you want, what you need, and finding that, talking, having an open line of communication with your coaches, because I think that's really important for me now, is I have an open line of communication with my coaches. If I call my coaches right now, I know they pick up. If I call them at 10 p.m., they'll pick up. They might not pick up at 2 a.m., but that's just because they're sleeping. So like anytime I can want to call and talk to them, I can, and I can tell them what I need, and they'll help me find that. So I think that's really important, to have that relationship with your coach and making sure you're getting everything you can out of this, because I mean, there's only like, not to be like dramatic or anything. There's only so much time you have and you want to get the best experience you can. So I just think that's important. And then just thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. All right. We're going to open it up for questions. Let me see here if I can unmute. All right. Okay. If anybody has any questions, feel free to chime in. You should be able to unmute and.
I do have a question for you. First off, thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I have a daughter entering her sophomore year of softball, and my question would be, what's the one thing you wish you knew looking back to get your name in front of college coaches to kind of get that exposure in terms of the recruiting process?
You're muted. Yep, there you go.
Thank you. I just saw that. So I guess just being more active with my recruitment. I was kind of just waiting, like going to tournaments, waiting for coaches to come to me, and that's not always the case. And really just like making contacts. So a big thing was I would meet a coach and then they knew other coaches too. So just like, I mean, it's hard because it's all about who you know too. Because like with me going to Central, I knew those coaches. I knew them from Davenport, and you never know what's going to happen. So I guess just like making a good impression with every coach you meet, because it's all about who you know and your contacts and like the way you represent yourself. Because a coach could be like, this girl just really like has a great attitude and she'll work for you, or this girl is not so like, she's so, but she'll just work her butt off and she'll learn a lot, so just kind of making a good impression on coaches, because they'll help you a little bit more with your recruitment. And just not to be discouraged that coaches don't respond to emails. It doesn't mean that they're not seeing them. It's just because they're getting so many emails. So they're seeing them. They're looking at your schedule, and sometimes they'll make it, but they might not always. They're pretty busy.
Yeah. Next question. You should be able to unmute and respond. Let me make sure. Okay.
I guess if nobody else is gonna ask questions, I can just keep talking.
Yep.
So when you were reaching out to coaches, were you just doing a lot of emailing, and are you, hey, I'm Grace Lehto. This is when I play, and just kind of putting your schedule out there in hopes that at some point they do have the time or they take the time to come see you play? Was that kind of how you initiated that?
Yeah, I think I went to a camp one time and a coach told me, you'll never annoy me. It just shows me how like dedicated you are. So I sent a lot of emails. I definitely use that advice. I kind of had a email drafted out that I used for every coach, changing the names. One mistake you want to make sure you never make is don't send an email to the wrong coach, because then they think you're just like sending a mass email to everybody you can. So you want to personalize it too, but I would have like, hi, my name's Grace. I'm a pitcher, first baseman. I also hit. I play for this team. This is my schedule for the fall or summer. And then I would try to like say, I'm really interested in your programs that I'm like looking into. So I think I would always say like, I'm really interested in your biology and your pre-med programs. Like, so you want to make it about school too, still too, because you're going to college, you're doing your student first. So putting that in there. And then it's good to add videos too. There's recruitment videos, but I know that's not always an option for everyone. It wasn't for me for a long time. So I didn't have a recruitment video. I just had videos of my parents that my parents took of me when I was on the mound playing other teams. So including that, because they're getting so many emails, you want something to show them like, hey, come see me. This is a video of me playing. You'll want to be interested. And then it's kind of fun. I know coaches talked about it at camps I went to, but it's also kind of cool if you put something like personal in there, like I don't know, something that sets you apart from other emails, which is hard to say. Sometimes I talk about my dog Gigi, or like just something different that'll make them remember you, like remember your name, because they're getting a lot of emails, and that's hard for them, and also hard for every athlete.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyone else have a question? I have a few. I just wanted to ask you, what kind of things does CMU work on with mental toughness? Do you guys have talks, or do you guys read any kind of, like certain books, or have discussions about mental toughness?
Yeah, we do a lot actually, and I really appreciate that. So that was a big change from high school too, is nobody talks about like they talk about mental toughness, but not like putting your mental health first, which like is hard, but it's something that should be talked about more. But we talk about it a lot at Central, and just like, because when your mental health is good, you can be more mentally tough. When it's not so great, then you break easily, or you're easily discouraged. So we talk about it a lot. We read books. We've read The Energy Bus, which was a really good one. It talked about team energy and how you can either be a team vampire, or you can buy in and follow what your coaches say and be a leading example. And we have talks here and there. We have honest talks that are sometimes hard, and everybody cries because they're very sad, or they're just hard, and nobody like wants to talk about that typically. But then we also have talks where we'll watch like a TED talk or a seminar about mental health or toughness, and we'll have a conversation about that and how we can be better at stuff like that.
Is team bonding a big aspect too that the coaches promote?
The coaches don't as much, because we're all adults. So they expect like us to realize like that's a big part of the game. So we do a lot of team bonding. We go bowling. Trying to think of we've gone to the pumpkin patch, or like in the fall we'll go to haunted houses.
You guys kind of organize that and do it yourselves.
Yeah, we have our own group chat where it's like, hey, we should hang out. Like, I mean, I don't know what I'd do without a team coming to Central. I'm not very extroverted, so I don't know if I'd have any friends, honestly, which is hard. But I mean, my teammates are my best friends right now. Like, and I wouldn't have it any other way. They're all great people.
Very cool. And then I had one other question for you. Do you have any type of routine that you do before games to get ready? Do you listen to music, or do you have a certain warm up that you do individually, or how do you get in your zone before a game? Say that you're playing Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah, I can't talk to anybody on the bus on the way to a game. I put my AirPods in and just jam music. I have to listen to my dad's rock that I listened to growing up. Like whenever we'd go pitch, he'd have that playing. Trying to think of a couple I have. Like Jukebox Hero is always one of them that I listen to. I just remember that. And I drink a slushie, because that was something I started in high school. And so I drink a slushie usually, or have candy. I need some sugar to get me going, which is not something my coaches would recommend, but it seems to work. So music, candy, and then just kind of getting myself amped up. I really need that adrenaline. Because when I get on the mound, I'm composed, but you want that adrenaline still running. So just anything to get that going.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other questions? That's everything I had. And there's not a bad question, so go ahead and, you know, the reason why we bring these guests in is that, you know, Grace has been through, you know, a lot of these experiences, and it's just great to ask questions. She's a girl that's, you know, played at HangTuf and is now at Central Michigan playing. So she was where you guys were at one time, your daughters, and it's just really cool to have you come back and interact with everybody.
Yeah, I have a question. How did you, Grace, get into pitching?
Ooh, good question. So my mom pitched and my older sister pitched. So I mean, I always looked up to my older sister, and she was a pretty good pitcher all through middle school, high school. So I was like, I want to do that. And then I met my pitching coach. So I wanted to do it. I got into it a little bit, and then I met Rob Dunham, and he really inspired me to just take off with it and really put the work into it, and how to put the work into it, like, productively. So initially my family, and then I had a couple coaches really get me inspired to stick with it. Good question.
Cool.
Yep. Claire is on our 11U team, and she's getting into pitching, and she caught a lot last year, and I know she's.
I know Claire.
Any other questions out there?
I know you mentioned you started lifting weights really, I guess, for the first time in college. Was there anything else, like entering college, that you maybe you wish you would have done, or didn't realize maybe you should have done to be prepared to take that next step, or to compete at the next level?
I wish I knew, I guess, what tools I needed. So it was hard to know what to expect, because like, I knew we'd be working out a lot, but I didn't know what we would be working out. Like, are we gonna do more legs, more running, more arms? So I think, like, there was a big difference from summer going into my freshman year and then summer going into this year. And I really got in the weight room because I realized that's really important, actually. And I think it'll change my game a lot this year. Is my legs are stronger, my arms are stronger, I'm just in better shape. So I think that'll help. But just really, I guess something like everybody can work on is like time management. And I think getting into like a daily routine would also really help. Like, before going into college, it's like waking up at the same time every day. And it doesn't have to be like 6 a.m. It could be 8 a.m. Just really getting into a routine, maybe starting your morning with a walk or reading or something, get your day going, and then being productive in those, especially in those first few hours, getting you up and moving. I think that's really important, because I found that to be super helpful. It gets me more productive in the day, and I can sleep earlier. I don't have to stay up till super late.
Yep. Any other questions? We're getting close here to where we are at 9 o'clock. Last call. If anybody else wants to chime in. All right. Well, we'd like to say, thank you, Grace, for joining us, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. And I'm sure we'll see you, especially this summer, if not, sooner. I know that I'd like to, take a group of HangTuf girls up to one of your games, maybe in the spring. So if you could just shoot me maybe an email telling me like what game your coach thinks would be a good home game for us to attend, that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Yeah, it's been great. I appreciate all of your input and sharing your experience with us. So
Of course.
okay. Well, this is always the awkward moment. So I know I use Zoom quite a bit for work, and yeah, Cliff, yep, you're saying good night. All right. But yes, good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.
All right.
Thanks
Yep,
again,
thank you.
Grace. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Yep.